The president's party has lost ground in 36 of 39 midterms since the Civil War. What will happen this time?
The dynamic of this midterm definitely resembles midterms of the past.
The outlook of the House map does not look too desirable to the Republicans, but they still have a natural advantage to pull it off.
So the median House district's about 4 points to the right of the nation, which I think is a good way of sort of illustrating this Republican advantage.
A number of Republicans are running on the negative effects of Democrats' progressive policies. Will people relate to that?
Almost every aspect of this state is poorly managed because of government.
I'm a political science major, a former leftist, a former radical leftist. I'm a convert. Today I'm a proud conservative.
How will this midterm affect the president?
Well, the big question is whether or not, if the Democrats regain control of the House of Representatives, whether they will move to impeach the president.
I don't want to be dramatic, but I really think that's going to push us towards some kind of civil revolt.
Welcome to Zooming In. I'm Simone. President Trump's 2016 presidential election win was a big surprise to many, especially those in the media. Now, with the midterms coming up, many are again anticipating that Democrats will win big. Public opinion and polling experts predict Republicans will lose the House of Representatives and many state governor races. But will we once again be surprised this November when the midterm results come in? There's been growing discontent with the effects of progressive policies in deep blue states like California, and some say Republicans still have a fighting chance in the House. On the other hand, if Democrats do win the majority in the House, what would that mean for American politics, society, and president? We'll discuss these questions and more in this episode of Zooming In.
U.S. midterm elections are coming up on November 6th. All seats in the U.S. House of Representatives and a third of the Senate seats will be contested. In addition, 36 states will elect their governors. Many states and local governments will also elect officers. Midterm elections are often difficult for the incumbent party. In the House, the president's party has lost ground in 36 of 39 midterms since the Civil War, losing an average of 33 seats. Since World War II, they've lost an average of 26 seats. Republicans currently hold 237 seats in the House of Representatives. Democrats hold 193 seats. It takes 218 seats to control the House. The University of Virginia Center for Politics and the Ipsos poll show that out of the 435 House seats, Democrats and Republicans are almost evenly matched, with 35 toss-ups. At a National Press Club press conference, Kyle Kondik from the University of Virginia Center for Politics said that Democrats will have a better chance to win the House because the president's approval rating is low, and the Democrats' lead in the House generic ballot is where they want it. However, he also sees a scenario where Republicans can hold on to the House. He attributes that to a generic public lean to the Republicans.
Sort of a generic Republican lean to it. So if you would line up all 435 House seats from Clinton's best district to Trump's best district, and you'd find the one precisely in the middle, it's a district that Trump won by about 2 points. Clinton won the national popular vote by 2, and so the median House district's about 4 points to the right of the nation, which I think is a good way of sort of illustrating this Republican advantage. Part of it is because
but Tom Del Beccaro, author of The Divided Era, argues that the generic congressional ballot remains fluid and Trump's polling remains close to his all-time high. That indicates the outcome of the control of the House is in play, and if Republicans can nationalize the election by offering a game plan for 2019 that contrasts with the tax hikes and socialism offered by the Democrats, Republicans can still hold onto the House. As to the Senate race, the Ipsos maps show the Democrats are at a disadvantage. They are defending 26 of the 35 seats being contested this year, including 2 independents who caucus with the Democrats. Additionally, almost all of the most vulnerable Senate Democrats are on the ballot this year. In fact, Democrats have one of the worst Senate maps in the history of popular Senate elections this year. They are defending 26 out of 35 seats that are up. The gubernatorial map is the mirror opposite of the Senate map. The Republicans are defending 26 out of the 36 governorships in this election season. Jeff from the University of Virginia indicated that this election could have an impact on the Republican Party as well.
Now, on the governor's side, Republicans are very much on the defensive, and a lot of these gubernatorial contests are going to take place in important states, a lot in the Midwest, that are very important when you think about the next redistricting cycle. So, say Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio. I mean, these are all states where Republicans were able to really draw very, very sharp gerrymanders that favored their party. And so if you're thinking about the next redistricting cycle in those states, the governorships are a key part of that. And so in a lot of these states where Republicans are defending governorships, their incumbents aren't running for re-election.
I also discussed the prospect for this year's midterm election with Colleen Bowman, Senior Fellow Polling Expert at the American Enterprise Institute. Here's what she has to say. Does the dynamic of this midterm resemble that of the previous ones?
The dynamic of this midterm definitely resembles midterms of the past. The expectation is that the Republican Party will certainly lose seats this November. We don't know what the number will be, but the ranges are very large and much larger in many cases than the historical average. For example, some are suggesting that the Republicans could lose as many as 40 to 50 seats overall. I expect it'll be lower than that, but I think it will probably certainly follow in the past historical pattern.
So if that's the case, what's the likelihood that Democrats will take over the House?
Yes, the Democrats would then take over the House. They need to pick up 23 seats, and the expectation among most of the analysts at this point is that they will do that.
How about the Senate?
The Senate is a different body, and most people think that the Republicans will maintain control of the U.S. Senate and may even possibly pick up a seat or two.
According to Real Clear Politics, President Trump's approval rating is 42% right now. So how will that impact the midterms? And will his endorsement help or hurt the candidates?
I think President Trump will endorse some candidates where he thinks he can make a difference, where he thinks he can make a positive impact. But I think we will not see him venturing into most House races this fall, or even most Senate contests. He is certainly a lightning rod. His support level is about 40 to 44% in most polls. That's historically low at this particular time. And he's such a lightning rod that I think that only in those districts where he could make a difference will he appear in the fall.
Coming up, Republican candidates are running on the negative effects of progressive policies.
Although the midterm maps don't look promising for Republicans, they still have a chance. And many constituents are hopeful for a red wave. Besides pushing for turnout, Republican candidates are focusing on the negative effects of Democrats' progressive policies.
In Florida, the unabashed progressive Andrew Gillum unexpectedly won the Democratic primary. But his Republican opponent, House Representative Ron DeSantis, said that a socialist agenda will monkey this up. In California, Republican candidates are all running on the failure of the progressive policies. When asked why he thinks he has a chance in a deep blue state, John Cox, the Republican gubernatorial nominee, said this.
Because the people of California are suffering under unaffordable lifestyle. The quality of life in this state is just not what it should be. They can't afford gasoline. They can't afford their house. They are going to schools that are 47th in the nation. They're driving on roads that are full of hot potholes. They're being told by the political class in Sacramento that they're only going to have 50 gallons of water a day. That's not livable. That's not a quality of life. It's not a quality of life to pay $3,000 for a 500 square foot apartment. I'm sorry, driving 2 hours in traffic trying to get to a job that's a long way away because you can't find an apartment that you can afford. That's California. And there's a thin layer of people who are doing fine, like Gavin Newsom, but there's a whole lot of other people that are really struggling, and I think people want to change.
Not number 47.
At Mr. Cox's fundraiser event in late August, Republicans echoed his concerns. 29-year-old business owner Andrew Delamar said the dire situation in California is why he supports Republican John Cox.
Almost every aspect of this state is poorly managed because of government, and government's answer for its inefficiencies and ineffectiveness is always more government, which never works. It's like that old quote that the bureaucracy is expanding to meet the expanding needs of the bureaucracy. That's where we're at. I mean, we don't have enough water because we haven't built a reservoir since 1979, and our population has doubled since then. So our governor is fond of, always blaming climate change or global warming why we don't have enough water. And the fact is that we've doubled the amount of people drinking our water and using our water, and we haven't done anything to expand how we capture water or how we use it. And that is a huge impact on the Central Valley and our economy, especially being mostly ag-based. And I mean, our infrastructure is poor. I've driven, in the last year, I've been in 15 other states, and we by far and away have the worst highways that I've driven. I mean, it's terrible. And Caltrans.
One member of the #walkaway movement was also present at John Cox's event. When asked why he walked away from the Democratic Party, 29-year-old AJ said he was misled.
And what changed my mind is one thing. When I actually sat down with conservatives, I always had pre-assumed judgments on conservatives, that they were racist, that they were bigots, ignorant, that they didn't care about the people, but rather about the wealthy. But when I decided to have an open mind, to have an open dialogue with conservatives, it literally changed my mind, and I began looking into their policies. I began researching a lot, I began reading a lot, and ultimately I crossed over. Actually, tens of thousands of people have crossed over, and the #walkaway movement, if you check it on Facebook, on social media, on YouTube, you will be surprised by the amount of people that are walking away from the left, and even foreign-born people that came into this country legally. For someone that came into this country legally and seeing how illegal aliens are being given all these handouts out of taxpayers' money, reaping the benefits out of taxpayers' money, when legal immigrants go through a hard process and they pay a ton of fees, and it's literally a very difficult process, and yet illegal aliens get all the benefits, get all the support and all the help.
The #walkaway movement was started by New York hairdresser Brandon Straka, who published a confessional video in May 2018 that went viral.
And I encourage all of you to do the same. Walk away.
Some 5 million people on Facebook and YouTube have watched the video. In an Epoch Times interview, Mr. Straka said he receives over 1,000 testimonial letters, videos, and emails a day. There's no official number of how many people have joined the #walkaway movement. Interestingly, there hasn't been an equivalent movement from the opposite side. Coming up, what impact will the midterms have? If Democrats regain control of the House, many expect they will move forward with impeachment proceedings. Other results of a Democratic House majority could include subpoenas, more investigations, and a further divided government, resulting in increased difficulties passing legislation.
How will the governor's races, along with the House and Senate races, impact the Trump administration and American politics in general? Here's Carlene Baumann again. You said the governor's races will be especially interesting to watch. Can you elaborate on that?
I think Republicans are going to lose a significant number of governorships this fall. And that's very important because our governors tend to be more outward looking. They tend to work a lot on trade within their states overall. They tend to work a lot on other issues. And they answer to the voters fairly often in the United States. And so those races are going to be particularly important. But overall, I expect Democrats to do well in the House of Representatives and unfortunately not, from their point of view, to take back the U.S. Senate.
So if the map is like this and the Democrats will take the House and the Republicans hold the Senate and a lot of the governorships will go to Democrats, how will this new map affect President Trump?
Well, the big question is whether or not, if the Democrats regain control of the House of Representatives, whether they will move to impeach the president. Many Democrats around the country think that that should be the case, that they should move to impeach Trump. But many others are very wary about that. So you don't hear a lot of discussion on the campaign trail about impeachment. But once the election is over, and if the Democrats regain control, there will not only be just enormous pressure on the Speaker, if it's Nancy Pelosi or someone else, to move ahead on impeachment and also to move ahead on a series of investigations that could embarrass the president.
Is there any chance that Republicans will still hold the House?
There's certainly a chance that the Republicans will hold the House, and I confess I'm impressed by some of the people who watch individual races who were suggesting that this is not going to be a Democratic sweep. They're much more careful about what they think will happen. And because most of us in Washington don't analyze individual races, a few of us do, but most of us do not, and we're also not on the ground. So it's quite possible that we're missing something big in the country and the Republicans could continue to hold the House of Representatives.
Candidates only have 9 weeks before the midterms to convince voters that they are the right person for the job. This year's results could have an even bigger impact than normal for the country and the presidency. Stay tuned. Zooming In will bring you unique perspectives on current affairs that matter to us. Thanks for watching. I'm Simone Gao. See you next week.